And I got a couple stuff to go over with you, Joe, this morning. Joe, can you see my, actually, I'm going to do the risk disclaimer because we want to get into a habit of that first. That'll take a moment.
What? I don't know. Other thing.
So this risk disclaimer is not the same one that is on our website. The risk disclaimer on the website was updated yesterday. We'll probably update it here just so people know we're working on broker affiliates and we're going through a compliance check with a broker who's going to be supporting Sceeto bots. And they've asked us to change our disclaimer statement. But if you don't have a platform yet for Sceeto bots, or if you're thinking about it, we're going to be working with a broker that has white labeled Sierra chart, and we're going to help people get on board with that. So if you're curious, just reach out to me about that. So I just want to go through the disclaimer. Futures and forex trading contains substantial risk and is not for every investor. An investor could potentially lose all or more than the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So that's true. This is a capital-intensive business, so it's probably good to do some sim trading. So, Joe, how was your weekend?
It was beautiful.
Good. Before we jump to your charts, can I show you? I ran up a little. I was running a little behind this morning. Joe, can you see my gold chart?
Yes, I see it.
Look at that. I did that all by myself with your stuff, or kind of with your stuff.
You're the best, brother.
So can I point out something? This is a trade I would never take, ever.
Sure.
Ever. And I kick myself because I'm like, I tend to, more than 90% of my, more than 90% of my gold trades are long. And what I do is when the market's in a down move, gold, I sit on my hands for a lot. And then I test the waters and I sit on my hands and then I wait for the bull move. And that was really expensive, like the quarter 3 and 4 of last year. And then it was good. Now it's been going down and I've been sitting on my hands and I'm like, I have this deep psychological belief that, you know, if there's any weird stuff that's going to happen gold, it's going to happen to the long side. You're going to, boom. But it doesn't really matter because you can your stops on. Like all the weird shit happens to the upside, mostly. And I also believe that, you know, we're ruining our currencies and that Bitcoins, the you know, the cryptocurrencies and gold are really going to be the refuge for everybody. So I believe in this long-term macroeconomic push towards gold rising. So like, don't short it, which is ridiculous because we're traders. So anyway, I just tend to, and that's why I tend to ignore the short trades. But then I saw this morning. I want to note the level here at 1226, and I put this fork on. And if you'll see here, Drew, this yellow is at what was support. And this is the Ludwig level, down, up, through, bing, test, down, up, and now support could theoretically become resistance at your fork. So I hand drew this fork. Is this a fork that you would say is, like, what's your take on that fork that I just that I put up there?
That's perfect. See how it closed with separation there? Your stop goes above the yellow dot, and, you know, your risk is minimal.
Minimal, right? And I was like,
yeah.
When I got in.
Now it's going on. Now watch, it's going to the bottom of the fork.
Yeah.
Now your first resistance is going to be at that fork line.
Right here, wherever it taps in the 22-ish area.
Yeah. And which is like 10, 15 ticks, isn't it?
More than that, because I was in here and I could have manually thrown off the trade probably in the 55, 50, 58, 58 in this area. I don't remember. I was like, oh, and then I was, you know, a little groggy. What time was it? 7:15, about 50 minutes ago. And then I'm like, fuck it. I don't really have time. I got to get my, you know, I got to get in the shower. And I didn't have my, this is, I don't trade off of this. I trade off of a different machine. I didn't have that up yet. So I'm like, I'm just not going to grab it. And then it was down and I'm like, there's still time. So I put anyway, so I let me ask you this. Your software automatically generates the forks, right? And that's in eSignal and also in Ninja 8. I manually drew this.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. Just because it was manual drawn doesn't mean it doesn't work. You know?
Yeah, but yours would have probably done this for me. I gotta, you know what?
Oh, absolutely. It would have found it. What you would do is you kind of go through all the forks and see which ones are working. And then that would have popped up.
I have Ninja 8 running on this machine, and I've got to start using 8 here in the morning so people can see it in there. And then we also got to talk about getting that stuff into Sierra and or some of the auto firing into Ninja. So there's one or two things about order flow in here that's of note. Like this looks like exhaustion coming in down here, which could mean that if the selling is over, the buying should come in. Some buying, not really, not a lot of buying came in. So when I saw this go up like this, you'll see like on the MacDaddy side, really this lifted. There was no real, this is more a recursion or retracement in the downtrend because there really was no material buying came in. Some book pressure stuff came in, but not monster, and then really no buying. So this is what I want to work on with you. Just so people know, Joe and I are trying to figure out ways to sync
To make
our
the perfect,
methods.
yeah, to make the perfect trade.
To make the perfect.
But look at that line that you put all the way across. See how it kind of just nippled through it a little bit and then closed underneath it. That right there is a big indicator saying that you couldn't really go through it. So plus you have the retest on the line. Just for me, that's a layup trade.
Yeah, yeah. I saw this evolving. I'm like, this is a draw trade that I'm missing, and I was like, that's it right there.
Yeah, that's a layup trade.
I got to start getting in a little bit earlier than I'm used to. So let me flip it over to you, and then good morning, everyone. I think I know all the names except for one. So if we don't know, you're welcome. And Joe, I'm going to flip it to you, and then we'll punch
No
through the
problem.
usual. And I did start recording this.
No problem. But I wanted to show you. You flipping it over yet? Okay.
It'll be there nowish.
Okay. Um, by going over here to this chart and right clicking it, capturing images, you see this?
Yeah.
I have all the pictures of what I've just done. Trades.
Look, they have a Facebook integration, FTP, and email.
Everything.
That email name may not be hooked up to your email yet, though, is it?
I don't know.
All right, we'll test it out.
That's what I need your help on.
All right. So
and then I can just send it to you, and then the people can see the trades as they're happening, and I just take snapshots of it.
that'll be great. Just so people know what Joe and I are trying to do is, Joe uses eSignal. I use Sierra Chart. I also support NinjaTrader 8, which I'll get running more, but it's a lot of software. I think everybody on this call knows you have a platform, and to manage 2 platforms or 3 platforms, and there's always like, oh, I got this one great piece of software in this platform, something else in the other platform. And even for us, and we're a software shop, we build and trade this stuff. It's brutal to manage all these platforms. So what Joe and I were talking about last week is he could start sending me over screenshots, and then it would be easier for me to overlay some of our stuff. So then we would like then to document this stuff after the calls to push it back to you so people had reference artifacts. You go, oh, I see what they're doing in there.
Yeah, but these are all time-stamped orders that are going. Like this morning, we were just short the pound. That you guys are looking at a pound trade that we just did.
Can you walk me through the pound trade?
Sure. Test. Retest. Get short right there. Made 10 ticks. Couldn't get through it. So I took the 10.
So you have a slop line off the median line in your forex.
Which is a difficult trade. People who are first starting out using forex, middle lines are the toughest trade. Always have been. They've been tough for me since I've started doing this 5-6 years ago.
It's hard to visualize it. Like without you putting that slop line on manually, I wouldn't even seen it.
Yeah, where do you put the line? You got to learn how to how it works. Is it this one, you know? I can show a couple of them.
What I see here, though, is there's tremendous momentum. You had, I don't know, it looks like 8, 9 or more contiguous sell bars or down bars after that
Mm-hmm.
high was put in. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have that punching through the median line, would that give you an indication, well, there's a lot of downward momentum. I'm now looking for it. So,
Well, see how the first one also gave you 10 ticks. But again, this is not a higher percentage trade. This is the higher percentage trade.
so that's, I would call it the
So,
lower high. It's not really a right shoulder, but it is definitely a lower high.
oh, it's almost like a flag.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many ways to put this. You know, you can go back way. Well, it looks like this. It looks like this. I hate to say, Andrews has been around since the 1920s. If you just look at the history of it, you'll see it. The guy predicted like everything. I am showing a Canadian trade right now.
Let me
You
look at
see
this.
here? I just put it up.
Yeah.
See all this?
Yeah.
This was a trade here. I was not here this morning for that, and I was not here for this. But these are the kind of trades, and this is a wedge, as my partner here is telling me. There's a wedge here. So there's 3 forks in use: the red, the yellow, and the green. See how the green captured all this?
Mm-hmm.
Now you look at the yellow, captured all this, and the red's starting to capture this. So really what's going on is all 3 of these forks are being kind of used. So it means that, you know, so this way, which way it's going to go, it's kind of, you know, it's calling, you got to understand the forks to make the trade. In my opinion, right here, when there's an X like this, that's an energy point. So this thing is going to go back and forth, and it's either going to shoot down or shoot up. So right now, it's just a wait.
I've been in wedges, like, hey, you're in wedges all the time. Triangles, flags, pennants, whatever. It's got a name for them: rising wedge, falling wedge, ascending
Whatever.
triangle, But I've never seen somebody say this early on, like, oh, here's my, this is pretty early on in a wedge. Like, if there was another series of a lower high and a higher low, I would say, oh, it's wedging. But you're really early on in, like, even forecasting that we're in a wedge. That's pretty interesting.
See how the green one looks like it's good. I don't know which fork's really that has the power. You know, the wedge is, like I say, you by getting in a wedge is what's working. When you're getting into wedge, you don't know which way it's going to go, right? So the whole purpose of a wedge is, okay, finding a wedge. Okay, you're in a wedge, you know. So that we call that market context. What's the market context telling you? What's going on in the world? You know, the fork could do this, the fork could do that, but there's also, you know, other indicators outside of trading the forks, you know. But as Carl's seen over and over again, these things work pretty good. They have high probabilities on them. That's all.
What we have starting to learn about wedges, and I don't spend enough time on it. I spent some time on it, like, I don't know. You look at things for a while, then you go back and forth, and you can't just drill down into one thing. But in terms of wedges, what I have found is there's some tells in order flow about which way the market's going to break. You've got the overall rate of change, so the market's going sideways. Everybody knows what a wedge looks like. Like, there's a very pedantic view of McDaddy. So if the rate of change of order flow is to the upside, it's probably going to break to the up. If it's downside, it's going to look to the downside. However, what we have seen prior to, and I'll find you an example. Here, I'm going to take this because this is something I would like to spend more time on, but I don't really trade wedges. Well, that's not true. I will trade a wedge. Let's say the market went down, the low, we saw a conclusionary order flow, selling's done, we saw buying come
Hey,
in, it responded well.
hold on,
And,
Carl. I
yeah.
want to point out one thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
go
off.
ahead.
Remember how you're looking at lines? See these? There's a line here. See how it's being drawn right all the way across?
Yeah, that horizontal line at, what do you have at
Right.
72?
So, yeah, it's capturing all these bottoms. So there might be some resistance there. So now, as you notice, it's going right to it. If it blows through that see how it just closed there?
Mm-hmm.
And it holds and goes through it, that wedge is becoming more profound. If it goes and flies down here, that means that this green line is where it's at.
Yeah,
So
you've
you would have been
set up
short
this
this
vision for
trade.
it.
Right, you would have been short at 10 here. You know, at 05, I believe. Let me look real quick here. Yeah, you would have been short at 01, you know, and it's trading 85, you know, 11, 12. Yeah, it's already gave you 10 ticks, this thing. So you would have been short up in this area right here, 11, you see? And it's trading 99 now.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10 ticks. But now, when you're in this trade, you have to make a decision, you know, what you're going to do with this trade. You know, take a part of your position off, move through it. Now, see how it's going through it? Now, this red line is garbage. I'll even take it off. Now, does it make more sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a little cleaner with that last one off. I could
Right.
show you on order flow. There's one tell in there of note. Let me show you on the Canadian right there. That's, I would think, of interest. This is fascinating.
So this thing's going to shoot to the bottom of that green line, dude.
So if we look in context from the low, I'm going to try to just tee it up from the low. The recent low was yesterday around Eastern, around 11 o'clock, 11:30 Eastern. And if you look at the pressure in the book, you have a very low reading here just before coming into the low, and then it moved up. So after the fact, we could say that's, you know.
Yeah, but this wasn't after the fact. I mean,
No, I'm going to just walk you through what
look at the pound.
Because like with tape reading, it's always like reading, like it's like a book. You have the beginning, the middle, and the end. So we look at the whole move, like, oh, well, how did the last move end? Did the last move end cleanly, or did the last move end dirtily? Like, if there was a clean end in order flow to the last, like a down move, that means that the next move you're reading is probably cleaner. If you don't have a clean tell on the end of the prior, you're still in no man's land, just like your fork. So they give you like a bearing. So this, I would say, is a good after the fact tell. Like, oh yeah, it's probably bouncing up, and here, and the right shoulder's good. But if you look at these levels, let me put a horizontal on here. And, oh, where is it? This might, I don't know. I'll just draw it with a crosshair. If you look at these levels, went up, sideways, selling came in. Now, if you had this marker up here, this double top, your fork went right through here. Like this was it. If you look, the book dropped right there. You get a very high reading of book pressure. So this in and of itself, I'd be apprehensive about unless I had like tea leaves in the Magic Brilliant Bowl. But if your fork was overlaid on it, and I saw this bar close, which I think is your straddle, that's your separation bar.
Correct.
And I saw that, I would have
separation is the key to the whole trade. Your separation is telling you to make that trade. Now, if you go back to the 13 tick, it looks even better. So that's, you know, oh, you gotta give it back to me.
All right, I'm gonna look at your 13 while I make a 13.
Okay, you gotta give it back to me though.
There you go.
So now you go. Where's the Canadian? Look how clean that 13 looks. Less noise, but you're getting in deeper in a price. That was a perfect trade. I did not do that trade, but that was a good trade.
Yeah, we've got very similar readings here too. Like even at the 13, the book pressure is the lowest of the move. It's a little bit cleaner. The 13 might be a little bit cleaner on the Canadian.
Yeah, it might be, but it isn't. Yeah, they're both good.
They're
The
both.
8 gets you in cheaper. If the 8, 13, they're lining up, I do the 8 just because I like to get in a little cheaper or a
Yeah, you'll
better price.
save about 5 ticks.
Yeah.
We were talking about wedges. I want to show something, and I'm going to cherry pick one, but it shouldn't be that hard to cherry pick because we see it all the time. Let me find one. Well, does anybody have like a wedge from the last couple days in any of the markets? And I'll see what the breakout was there.
Well, you want me to put the other one back up for the pound? I mean, for the Canadian?
I'm going to go something a little thicker, maybe more like gold or crude or ES.
Oh, crude.
That's good.
I don't. ES, I just have a ES. I have a buy starting in the ES right now.
You have a buy starting in ES? I have late in the ES.
Well, it was a buy earlier, but you know, it should have been in earlier on that trade. I'm just noticing it right now.
It's pretty quiet pre-market up until like it's kind of like jinga jinga jinga.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you.
The buy was right in here.
Yeah, let me show you exactly in there what that looks like on tape and order flow, and like where you would put a bot, and then how to run a bot on something like that in terms of the wedge breakout.
That's perfect.
And we could do something just like this because there's a couple different ways to use the bots. There's like, oh, it's going to happen over the next 20 minutes or 40 minutes and I can't wait. Or the market's running and I wanted to take a couple of trades during the run, or you're in this congestion period. And I watch congestion periods. Like this is a very good example. Here's your congestion, right? And I'll show you. Whatever. This is congestion, right? We all know what congestion looks like. The market's going sideways. Who knows where it's going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had the orange with the RE. That could be a fake out, really. And the truth of it, you don't really know. Like this is in hindsight. This was a signal. However, this is what I know, and this is something that if other people, and one of the things I like is like I have a couple of customers I talk to on a regular basis. We've become quite friends, and then I say, could you look at this, because I only have one set of eyes, and they're looking at stuff and they're passing it back and forth. But this is a wedge. We all know wedges go on forever, and you got no patience. But the tell in order flow as to the prediction of the wedge is it went up, tested up. You have this yellow bar here, which means we had chaos in the order book. By the time this bar closes, I know for a fact that the next bar is a candidate bar. I call it a candidate bar because that bar could engulf this bar. So if I see this, we had a really clean orange, it lifted, or everybody wants to go to 2400, the machines want to go to 2400, I have a long bias, it's going this way. By the time this yellow bar closes, I have this is what screen time kicks in. My screen time kicks in and says, oh, that's my tell. If the next bar closes and engulfs, a yellow up here, so we had chaos in the order book. Here's my upper band at 39.75, right? I mean 95.75. Bink again by a tick. Bink again by a tick. And then we had chaos in the order book, but yellow up here. So we had asymmetrical orders in the book right at the high. If this gets what we call beat, this is a beat. If price beats that order flow, that's it. Because the chaos in the book that had a supply bias was resolved. Bink. And this is my early tell that it's going to break out. And it does. If you want to wait for the breakout classic, wonderful. But what I do here is, I don't know if I have one set up. This is a machine that I built last week, but I haven't finished building. I would go like this. It's very easy. I'd go to show hide.
If you know what else you could add there, pal?
Wow. What's that?
That's a channel, and it busted out of that channel too. You see, where you get the circle, and then you look at your bars, and you see all of a sudden they stop popping higher and higher. And that's what those lines, if they're near a fork or if they're near your numbers or stuff, people need to, notice those kind of things when they're trading.
Yeah, it's market context is everything, and I like the
Huge,
I find market
huge.
context, price action, and market context. So I would call your market structure, your forks, I would call that both market structure because the forks give you structure and price action. Like that one encapsulates both. Like a volume profile may only be market structure, not really price action. Yours encapsulates both. You have the separation. And then order flow without that context is just order flow. So yeah, I can.
Correct.
But this bot, you see I just configured it quickly, it's going to say, if I would have turned this on, and I know I'm cherry picking, but this is what I would have, I'm confident I would have done this in real time. When I'm looking in this wedge, which way it's going to break, I'd be like, oh, come on, I got no time. And as long as price is in here, I would say, give me an X supply asymmetrical bar, one to go. So that means the bot is looking at the current bar, and one to go, the prior bar had to be yellow, and this bar is a pivot low. Or you could say this bar is like a loose engulfing bar. It would have caught that, it would have called that. Two of these, and then turn it on. Oops. And then anywhere while I'm in here, if this bot is running and I'm like, I have no patience to wait, or I may look away, which is more dangerous, this bot would have grabbed it and filled it in here perfectly. So this kind of like wedge thing is really good for bots if you know what to look for, commensurately to the downside. Like if you see them.
That's what I love about your bots. I mean, you set it the way you want it, and it does what it wants to do. It puts you in and out of the trade, moves stops. It's a beautiful tool, I think.
Thank you. You know what? If people want to know, like, I had a bunch of templates. We rebuilt over the last week or so how we make a template or save a configuration. Like if you go see its configuration and you click save, this is new. We just rewrote it, and I have to rewrite all of my templates. It was a little buggy, a little funky, but it's fixed now. So if you have Sceeto bots and you close and start Sierra, you're going to get the new build with the new saving. So it's been on my to-do list to make new templates. And if you want, I will ship them to you. Just let me know. I'll send you the templates that I use because I'm making all new ones, or we'll just put it, and we'll put it on the website and we'll make sure they get downloaded. But I would do here is I just go new. I would just call this like wedge breakout dash long. Oop, Ling doesn't work here anymore. Long. So it's there. So if you went Bink and you need a new template, you just like, oh, a wedge is coming up. Let me just load my wedge. Bing, turn it on. And then commensurately for the downside, it's the same. You want to, in terms of wedges, I look for order flow tells where we had that chaos on the order book to the supply side, to the demand side, and then it got breached. Price, because price trumps order flow. Whatever you see in order flow, we only trade price. So that's just a quick lesson on that. Sorry for my digression. Any questions, anyone? Because I think we're going to move on to some other markets. No questions? Oh, yeah, we got a question. Questions about the sweeps. So the sweeps are awesome. We have a question if we can explain a little about the 1, 2 of the 3 of the sweep if it applies. The sweeps apply in market context, and the sweeps are different in different markets. I think sweeps work like the best in the medium markets. Let's say the golds and the crudes, then the thicker markets, and then the thinner markets. So sweep is market context. In here, if you were looking to go short, let's just find some sweeps that work before we go sweeps that don't work. If you'll notice, I have 2 sets of sweeps on this bar, or on this chart. One has a lot of numbers. One only has a few numbers. This sweep is calibrated differently than this sweep, the one on the bottom. This sweep on the top is calibrated so it looks at everything that's on the screen and gives you a 1, 2, 3 above the bar and a 1, 2, 3 below the bar to give you context. Say what is the tallest and what is the the shortest or the lowest, the highest and the lowest, top three for everything on the screen. And then this one is calibrated to look for a certain leg length. I think it's probably like 5 points. Let's see. This sweep looks at every 3-point leg and will plot 1s, 2s, and 3s going back historically for 3s. Lucas, yeah, we're going to send I'll try to send a link out. We'll figure out how to get that up. We always flub that. So sweeps are good for market context. And let's cherry pick after the fact. This is a sweep of the order book to the supply side, which meant that the book got swept out to the bottom. And what I look for is a move, like to start to say, when does the move end? Here's a move. Let's see where it ended. That's not a good move. Let's cherry pick for you. Here is a move. Let's ignore this one on the bottom because it's market context. We built this to be context sensitive. I'm watching this. I'm like, oh, when is it going to end already? When's it going to end? Because I'm one of those, I want to know where the end of the trend is. And if you'll notice, as it moves up, the largest sweep of this move was at the top, which meant the order book got swept out. So I'm pretty confident if it makes a higher high up here, they're done. This is just price momentum taking out. That order flow is done. We could spend probably 2-3 hours on sweep, which we don't really have time, but sweep is all about what was the size of the sweep in context to the move? Where did it end in terms of a level or a fork? Like where is it in market context? And it will tell you, yeah, they shit their bed there. They're done, you know, or they're not done. We don't really know yet. And that's what we're monitoring the order flow. So I would not have sold this. This is contiguous. I here at this point would have said, oh, there's probably another higher high right up around here. That would be an ideal, and then the lower high. So this happened a little too fast, but that's what we do with the sweep. So Vikas, if you want to get on a call and discuss sweeps, I'm happy to walk you through it.
And the pound is starting to go lower. The Canadian's going to the bottom line.
Let's see.
So there's two good trades that we people noticed right away here, or we showed right away.
The pound is nice, man.
Should I show them? Yeah, the pound is nice. Pound is coming to the bottom. So is the Canadian. If you give me back my ability to show, I will show you it.
I will give you back the ability to show it because I do want to see your forks. And let's see, Drew.
Okay, first I'll show you the Canuck. See how it's coming down to the line?
You see what's great about your stuff, Joe, is your targets are automatic. Like you have a visual target, so your mind can be congruent, like with your nervous system, with your trade management. Like it's so obvious. Like whereas I use fixed stops and targets, like we know what your normal zig and zag is. We look at the leg lengths and say, the leg for this on this size chart is 1.3 average, whatever it is. But yours, it gives you much further targets than I do, which is really, if you run 50-50 and you got a little bit of a good, target to stop ratio, you're fine. But your target to stops ratio is so much larger than mine. And then if I could just keep the kind of automation that we have, but move the targets out with the same risk management on the stop.
Yeah, I don't
changes the whole portfolio.
Exactly. I don't see what. That's what I'm saying with your bots here. This trade, this is going to get out here. This is, you're looking at almost, 30 ticks. You're short from 39 or 30. Yeah, 39. I did this trade and only took 10 ticks out of it because it was having troubles on the lows.
Mm-hmm.
That was my market context. So you know what? I got 10 ticks out of it. I'm going to take this trade. But again, it's everybody's different in the way they do their thing.
Can I show you something on your chart? And then just so you know,
Sure.
So Joe and I are working together, and then Joe and I are putting this stuff out for people, but it's really an exercise. We hope, hey, people want to buy some software, great. But this is an exercise that forces us to get together and document what we're doing. So it's really helpful for both Dro and myself, particularly for me. And Dro, I want to tell you, like, we are done with, like, V1 of Sceeto bots is ready. There's some bugs that are getting fixed and all that. One of the things we wanted to build into V1, but we just couldn't. It's too big a piece of engineering, and we have like a laundry list of stuff to do. And this is what's going to be interesting where our stuff goes together, is that we put a lot of time and effort into reading the order flow prior to the entry. But the moment the entry goes, we don't really take any of that order flow intelligence and then put it back into the bots, which is ludicrous, because why is the information so important up to the entry, but all of a sudden once you're in, the information is not really valuable? So what I envision is for the next phase, like, and we have a list of like what the priority are. That's really one of the biggest priorities for like the next phase is taking order flow information after the entry and then letting the bot adjust its target and stop depending on the order flow and not prefixed. I also think we should be putting in like your target areas. But for you, what we could do is
I already know.
let's
See what you got. There's two things in my the way I trade is money management and where the forks end. All right. So in money management, I have a hard time because I came off the floor. I was a floor trader. I have to do different way of trading for myself. So in certain things or certain times, I'll get out of something where you're saying, why are you getting out? Because I personally can't handle giving back money or I can't handle the way it's going. So I adjust things. Look, the method always works. When you adjust to when you're adjusting yourself to the method, well, you're not really following it totally. If you follow the method, it works. It's like your bots or your when they does the order sweeps. Follow it to the T. It works. The problem is people's intuition of getting in or out of something where it causes it problems.
a lot of this game is psychological. I think it's
Oh,
20% mechanics and 80% psychological.
I can't agree with it more.
Yeah.
When I was on the floor, it was physical and psychological because you had to beat the guy up next to you so you get some trade.
Maybe he'll listen
But
next time.
yeah, you threaten him. There was a lot of different things. A lot of different things.
Do you see that button? Yeah, I just have a keyboard and mouse. So what's of note here is this trade, right? It came
Hmm.
through this breach point and then, all right, it's struggling. So you're like, I'm done. Like, there's some money.
Yes,
I got to move on to the next thing. Otherwise, your mental energy is here. You can't move on to the next one. And then,
correct.
of course, yay, it went down. However, this is what, in terms of, I think the next, how do you make that wide? Oops, that's not it. So just
Here,
so
I'll do
people
it.
know, I'm driving Dro's machine now, and
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll,
yeah. I'll make it wider for you.
oh, thanks. So
There. Take over, brother.
if you got in at the close of this bar, the open of this bar,
Correct.
and
Correct. Close of the bar, not open of the other bar.
but the close of this bar doesn't
It's
happen
the
until
entry.
is the open of this bar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I call because I know the bot is has to wait for this first tick here before it fires.
Gotcha.
So that's why I use that terminology.
Okay.
So boom, it's going to fire here. Now we looked at all the order flow here. Oh, great, there was this sweep and yay, and a market, But really, what's important in the next phase is I got in, or the bot got in, or the human got in manually. It doesn't really matter. And buying came in right behind me. The bot knows that very well. The bots and the software is very good at looking at order flow and making those deductions. It's happening at the millisecond level of the timestamps we're processing the moment they come in. But let's say a ton of selling comes in on this bar, or a ton of selling came in on this bar. We should be adding that into our stop and target logic. And now you had this bounce up, and it bounced up, but there was really no buying under the hood. That's the information we want to articulate, elicit, and then program back into bots. So then you can either hopefully the bot's figuring it out for me, and then I can move on to the next trade because we want to
Well,
be able.
once you got the bots on, Carl, you don't do nothing else. You let it do its work. You know, I bet you'll make more money from the bots because your emotions is gone.
The frequently what I have found is my psychology has changed using the bots, and my methodology have changed because you want more proactive, but I frequently leave my desk. Like that was one of the reasons I built the bots is like I leave my desk all the time. I can't. I just, and then I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, it's already done trading, which is nice. I either made money or lost money, but like it did the whole trade. I didn't even know about it.
Exactly.
Like you're like, oh, this thing's waiting. It's going to set up. I can't wait. I'll come back. I took a shower. Oh, we're in cash again. But I think that's, I mentioned that because I talked to a couple of other people who are in the room now. So just know we're going to be building that over the next quarter or so, logic, post-entry logic. Did you say
Yeah.
that you had an ES trade setting up? Or no, that we got away
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. Oh, no. There was a trade already there. We should have been long the ES.
Oh, and
Yeah.
so what I can say, this is what I meant to say.
Right here.
On the pound, excuse me, on the Canadian, we had selling all the way through. Every bar had selling. So the bot would have said they're still selling, even though price went up a little bit. They're still selling. So, oh, I see. Let me look at my ES.
It's written in CC, C plus, C plus plus is what it is. I think they even got it in Java. This stuff, some of it's in Java.
What's that? E-signal or yours?
No, there's some people here interested in showing them how our stuff works, and they're asking questions.
Your stuff's all C++.
Yes,
Huh.
what you call it, what our buddy wrote it, and then Bruce.
Blues.
Bruce.
So this is chirping. So this is the bar with separation? Oh, what is it? This is a
Yes.
9-tick bar?
No.
2.24.
Yes. Yeah. 9 ticks. Yes, 9 ticks. 2 handles, 2 1/4 handles. Yes.
That's a big ass bar. Let me look at a 9-tick on my side because it looks.
It's cleaner, dude. Just cleaner.
So I always like to get in early, early, early. You said earlier you like to get in early too, but 9 ticks on ES is a pretty big bar. Particularly.
Not for me. It is.
No.
No. I think it gives it room. It creates. See, look at this. Where the stop is, it becomes a perfect stop. If you don't have a 9 tick or even 10 ticks, it could come and stop you out and still work.
There is 8 ticks of noise. There's 8 ticks of noise in ES.
Yeah.
So you're always fighting 8 ticks of noise, and you have to say, when do I not have the noise? And that's what I'm looking for. But there's always 8 ticks of noise.
9. That's why I picked 9.
Okay. I know guys who trade the 8 ticks of noise. I know people. That's what they do.
Everybody has their own way. Some people like ping. Some people like TaylorMade. I like forks.
Okay.
Look at the pound. It's going all the way to the bottom of the line.
The pound? All right, let me see.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. Poetry in motion. Let me get you into pound. See that? All the way down here is where it's going to go.
That's a massive target.
And you're short from this area right here.
Let me look at mine.
Right here is where you were short from.
Joe, do you ever try to quantify the duration that you're in for a trade? Like my trades are 2 to 20 minutes. Sometimes they're longer. Like there'll be a gold swing trade. Like I will be scalping, and then once in a while I'm like, oh, I'm done scalping. This thing's going to run for hours, and then I'll leave gold on till noon or 2 or 4.
No, I look at it as bar to bar, fork to fork, that kind of stuff. You're seeing right now.
Do you leave trades on like, all right, you're done. I know you're in, and then I know you leave the office You're seldom, I think, in the office 11 o'clock. Do you ever, like, if this thing's the pound and you're in, you're like, oh, it hasn't hit it yet. Do you cash out or do you just leave your stops in?
I just cash out.
Okay.
I go home for my cheeseburger.
Oh, nice.
You know, at a certain time, it's a mental thing. What do you? I mean, how much are you willing to? Are you willing to use your mental? You know, I've always gone home when it came to trading. I don't care what happens when I go home after that.
I literally forget about my trades when I leave. So I
Absolutely.
will leave it on sometimes, like, particularly in gold, like, it's going to go for 3 hours. And I can't, and if I sit and babysit it, I'm going to take the target. I'm going to move the target down and cash out. And if I've got profit in, there's one contract, let it run, whatever, no big deal. And once I leave the office, I literally forget. And then I will come back to the office. I'll go, oh shit, I had a trade on. I wonder what happened. Like, and
Well, that's
I don't
what's
think
nice
that's
about
healthy. I think I have a memory
no.
problem. my wife's like, what do we have for dinner last night? I'm like, I have no idea what we had for dinner last night. I'm sure it was delicious.
So,
You did a good
yeah,
job, honey.
I'm about to comment. It was really good. What was it? I can't remember what it was. When they slap you across the face, nice job, Carl.
Right?
You don't remember when I cooked you? Well, trading is for me is like a woman. You know, it treats me nice some days, and some days it's just the son of a gun.
Oh, sometimes, yeah. Very rough on you. Very, very
Yeah.
rough.
Well, Carl, we're about done. Or you have anything else? Do we have questions?
Let's go out there and see if anybody has any questions. I know we didn't get through, like, really a good job on the sweeps, but there's a lot to learn about sweeps. We're going to do this again tomorrow. Any questions before we adjourn? I want to give a couple of announcements that off the top of my head, just let people know where we're at. So we have a new build out of Sceeto bots. We're probably going to have another build out in the next day or two, just fixing some bugs. We have an updated user manual out, and I'm working towards getting templates for everybody. So you say, oh, there's my beat template. There's my engulfing template. There's my right shoulder template, Oh, there's my sweep template. When do I turn it on and off? And that's probably the most important thing. And then Dro, you have the screenshots. We have to figure out. Oh, can I mention one thing? It was the crew trade. I think it was a crew trade last week. I can never remember.
Yes, it was.
It was a crew trade that we both got in, and I think that I pushed my target out dramatically. I think it was crude because of your fork as opposed to my, like, 16 by 16. I don't remember. So I actually wanted to say thank you. I haven't talked to Joe since last Thursday. We talked for like 2 minutes before the call, but we just haven't caught up. So I thought that was pretty cool because that's material when I could just have the same trade and then push the target out. That's very material to my win-loss ratio and what the bottom line is. Like, if you maintain even 50 with a good win-loss ratio, no, a 50-50 win-loss ratio with a good stop-to-target ratio, you're done. And I don't think
if it's a 50-50 trade, you better have good money management.
you better have good money management.
Yeah. This is not a 50. It's, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's a higher ratio.
Yeah.
So. All right, Carl, I just want you to, when you do get a chance, to call me back and then see if I can't send you or figure out how to send you the pictures of trades. So when I'm taking pictures of trades, I can send it to you.
All right. I'm going to call you right now because I want to finish it up because I'm leaving the office at 10 today. I got to scoot for a meeting.
Okay.
And then I want to thank everybody for coming down. We'll see you all tomorrow. If you have questions. Oh, by the way, we put up a whole new help desk. Our help desk was a little confusing. So there was a new help desk at Sceeto.com. No more craziness opening a ticket or having to have credentials to open a ticket. Send an email to support@Sceeto.com. Everything's taken care of. Whole new help desk. It should make everybody's lives a little bit easier. So thank you. And Joe, I'll call you in like 2 minutes.
You got it, pal.
All right. Bye.
See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.